Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into this episode of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. My name is Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, alongside my two co-hosts, former Buffalo Bills John Fina and Jerry Ostrowski, who you can find on Twitter at John Fina and at Ostrowski_Big O. So good to have every single one of you guys joining us. Please do us a favor. Please please subscribe, whatever platform you are consuming this presentation on right now. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are so glad that you are with us. What's up? So we are in the throes of the off season. The combine was this past week. What do we got? The official tampering period is going to open up. What is it? March 10th, guys, I think is what it is. And we're going to, for the next couple of weeks, now that we are officially back together again, weddings are behind us, a little bit of off season stuff is behind us. We're going to be talking about Bills' positions of needs over the next couple of weeks, starting this week with wide receiver. But before we do that, Jerry Ostrowski, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Joe. I'm doing good. Good to see you guys again. We were all hanging out together. I guess it was last week, man. We were all out in Tucson.
Yeah.
So it was good to see you. Obviously out there, festive times. Congratulations again to Mimi and Lewis, right? Lewis, is that correct, John?
That's right. Lewis, yes.
And the whole
you
family.
Got it right.
Really good time. Great food. Great time. I had a blast.
John Fina, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. The wedding was fantastic. It was great to see you guys. Just still like wandering through the house and like the cleanup. I feel like it's after a nuclear accident, right? There's stuff everywhere still. We're climbing out of it though. It was fun watching the combine. I had it on a couple of TVs and I'd walk around, catch some of these kids that, I saw play in college, and it's a pretty exciting time, man. I mean, it's just, this is like the hope springs eternal moment coming with the combine and then tampering and then the draft. It's just really cool stuff.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it can be a fun season if you can find the things inside of the season, the off season, that is, if you can find the things to stay interested in, which from a content standpoint, it can be challenging. And Jerry, you know that because you're doing a ton of content right now amongst all of the shows. And after a while, it's like, I feel like I've said this 6 times already, which you probably have. So with everybody that's listening and hanging out with us, excited to talk about tonight, or I should say on this show, wide receivers, which have been a hot topic for this football team for a while, probably since the Everybody Eats moniker. Stephon Diggs leaving kind of took over. And before we kind of get into the topics that I sent you guys a little bit earlier, and I talk about the depth chart, and we talk about injuries to this team, and we talk about Brandon Beane's comments and Joe Brady's comments, and we talk about just other stuff. Real quick, John Fina, just now that the season, your palate has been cleansed for both of you. We're a couple weeks out from the season, as far as gone from the season. Just your overall thoughts on how the wide receiver room performed this past year, 2025, real quick. And Jerry, I'm going to ask you the same question. John, you first.
Yeah. Look, I think it was mediocre. I don't think it was fantastic. There were situations where they did what was more or less asked of them, but there was nothing really dynamic about it. So it could be a little bit of the offensive philosophy, the play calling, could be the talent in the room. And then I think by and large, if I had to consolidate, the biggest issue overall was just there was no consistency in the same 4 guys available week to week to week. And that extended into the tight end room too, right? With Kincaid being down as often as he was. So, for me, you just, the overall grade is maybe C+ with the potential that it could have been a B+ or, a B, but we'll never know. And I think it warrants addressing. In my opinion, it's probably the highest need for this team. And I think it's perfect that we're biting this off right now to talk about.
No, I think, John, you're right. I think that the availability part of it was crazy. I mean, when did we really see the 4 or 5 guys that they wanted, on the field or, on the sideline, at least at any one time? We never saw it. I mean, obviously Curtis Samuel was a wash. You talked about the tight ends. Kincaid had the injury issues. So yeah, there was that, just availability of the group. And I felt like that was kind of a common theme across the whole entire team.
It was
season, you know what I mean? But the other thing is this, and you kind of talked about it, and I think the receivers did exactly what they were asked of them. I mean, most of them were asked to block. do some different things in the passing game but nothing dynamic like you talked about. Right. We didn't have that one guy that you could really hang your hat on to go and make a play when you needed it. Obviously, you had Shakir, but we're talking with him anywhere from 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage to 5 to 10 yards in front of it. So no downfield presence. And I know we've talked about this a lot. That's the one area that really needs to happen is that third level, that deep level, 20 yards plus needs to be attacked in this free agency and or the draft or both.
Yeah,
it's weird because I don't know. I can go through the season. I can enter the beginning of the season coming off of last year. And we talked about it ad nauseum through the season. Every week I would talk about 8 or 9 people catching the ball. They fulfilled that phrase everybody eats every single week. 9 people would catch passes. And when you look at it, C+, C-, John, Jerry, we need to develop beyond 20 yards. The reality is, to both of your points about like cohesiveness, like it felt like the wide receiver group solidified when Brandon Cooks got here late. Like all of a sudden, that's when it was like, oh, we might have a group of guys that are working together. But at the same time, this team scored. Hang on, this team. Where I was going with that, this team scored. What were they, 3rd in points this year? To your point, Jerry, they were blocking downfield a lot. We had the league leading rusher on this football team. So I backed myself into a corner of, does it need to be reworked? I don't even know.
No, it does. And I get where you're going with that. But part of the reason we were such a great scoring offense is because of James Cook and because of Josh Allen's ability to tuck the ball and run. Right. And with respect to the guys in the room, I'm not going to say that, a couple of them couldn't have been the guy, but it takes week in and week out film study, availability, and practice to build that rapport. Understand what a guy's going to do, understand the intricacies of a play, against each defense week to week. And when you're like, well, that guy's not available, hey, and now you're playing kind of catch up and you never really get a chance to build that trust, that rapport. So I'm not saying they're the wrong guys, but they were never the same guys.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, John, but Brandon Cook showed up and he got open immediately.
It's true.
And the ball was in his hands immediately. So it wasn't like there was a ton of trying to figure it out between those two, which I think leads to the fact where you just have to have capable talent. And I don't even think that if Palmer stayed healthy, he was that guy either. I think Palmer's a really good piece of the puzzle. He's a guy that can run really good routes, get open, running precise routes and things. But, there was never that downfield hammer, so to speak, to just rely on and get the ball to. That's why I think when Brandon Cook showed up, even if it was minimal at best, it was something so new to everybody that it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we got this. Right. It looked that much better. So yeah, but obviously they need to do some things to rework that room.
So when you look at that, starting there, it's always the question of, well, what do they need? The Bills have been somewhat linked to a couple players in this offseason so far via Jeremy Fowler, and we'll get into that in a second. But when you look at just the depth chart and who's on this team, and I started tweeting this as soon as the season ended, and then Joe Brady at the Combine last week came out and said that he's really excited for the group that he has coming back. And gentlemen, that group is effectively 2 people. And depending on where you want to put Joshua Palmer, Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, and Keon Coleman wasn't necessarily one of the guys until Joe Brady got hired. And he has since then said, I called Keon Coleman immediately and said, the best thing that could have happened to you is me becoming the head coach. Like, I'm going to stand on a table for you. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But at this point, Joshua Palmer obviously has a big contract, is on this team. Like you said, Jerry, is capable, ran good routes in LA, ran good routes here, but the ball doesn't find him. Mecole Hardman, I don't know if he's on this team anymore or not. Curtis Samuel, you feel like they have to cut Curtis Samuel and get out from underneath his cap of $8 million for a guy that never is on the football field. Terrell Shavers, IR, ACL, isn't going to be back until what, December of 2026? Keon Coleman, we talked about. Khalil Shakir is your number 1 guy on this football team. Brandon Cooks, I think he said he wants to come back. I mean, he was very emotional in the last game, post-game, crying, and he'd been on the team for a month, maybe. So he's clearly connected to Josh Allen and believes in what this team brings them. And then Gabe Davis, who we were pining for at the end of the, like in the middle of the season for him to get back. ACL, MCL. That dude's knee exploded. I don't know if he'll be back in December or 2027 at this point. So you're talking about you're rebuilding this room, are you not?
You're just painting such a gorgeous, optimistic picture here, Joe. Like I want to get off the podcast and cry right now. Listen, I'm gonna start with the comments about Brady calling up Keon Coleman, right? So I think he's still a young kid. He's still your second round pick. You're gonna say that. You got to do everything to encourage this kid, not having any idea where his headspace is. But
especially after what the owner said. Especially after what the owner said, right? So.
But what he comes into with in training camp is really going to make the difference. It can be all pie in the sky and sweetheart and huggy, lovey dovey kind of stuff right now. But the rubber's going to hit the road with his attitude and his performance in training camp and what he does in the offseason to get ready. I like the idea of keeping Brandon Cooks. That's about it. Khalil Shakir, Brandon Cooks, Josh Palmer, maybe Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman. And then we have to go somewhere. And this is where, I'll probably defer to Jerry on this. I'll just say my preference that I would prefer somebody in free agency. However, the challenge of the salary cap, and this is where Jerry probably is more educated than I am, if that is something that can be worked, I would prefer to go to free agency and look later in the draft for somebody, to come in or sign some more of these guys to 1-year deals that are a little aging and run that risk of injury and availability and all that.
I mean, honestly, I think you got to go both draft and free agency is the way I look at it. And the other thing we don't know is this. I mean, McDermott was very light on wide receiver numbers on game day. We don't know what Brady will do as far as numbers go. We could bump to 6, maybe 7. Mm-hmm. We don't know. We know that McDermott liked to stockpile DBs and those types of things. So we'll see how that goes. But when you look at the roster, obviously Josh Palmer coming in right now, 6th highest paid player on the team at a cap hit of over $11 million, almost $12 million. Be interesting to see if they try to rework that contract this offseason, especially since he was non-existent most of the year. I think you have to really look at this thing where I would like, anyway, my preference is get a free agent. And there's some names out there that the Bills obviously been linked to. There's probably names we don't even know about.
Right.
But sure, get a free agent and get that vet, but then also go ahead and get that rookie. Whether it's, I don't know if it's a first-round guy. If you pick a really good free agent up, does that push that off to second or third round? But you've got to get a rookie in here that can help as well as a vet and then go from there. I don't really care. I'll be honest with you, and I know that we have this love affair with Shakir. I mean, what he does is what he does. I mean, I don't know. It's not like I think if he wasn't in the lineup, we just go, oh, my gosh. I mean, I think we felt that way recently because the wide receiver talent has been so depleted. Right. It's been so bad. But if you get 2 really good ones in here, a free agent and a rookie, and then you have a Kincaid that's healthy or whatever, I mean, really, where's the football going to go? I mean, how much, there's only one football to go around. And I think Shakir probably falls back into place where he needs to be. But I want to say this before I get off, and I know you got more comments.
You're good.
The crowd that's chirping about Shakir all of a sudden can go outside, you guys are crazy.
Brady said it.
Well, Brady, I'd love to see his plan. Because since, hey, we'll just go ahead, John, and get open up Pandora's box.
I agree with you, Jerry.
Since everybody's talked about it, and all anybody wants to talk about is arm length, and obviously I have no idea anymore about how long of an arm does it take to play football, but he has historically short arms as a receiver.
Yeah.
You want to talk about not getting off a press man outside?
Yeah, said the guy with 38-inch arms, though.
Well, I mean, that's besides the point, but I didn't play receiver.
Said the guy with 38-inch arms.
They were close.
No, Jerry, I agree with you. I mean, the short story is I agree with you. Why take a guy who excels at an inside position and then try to work him outside? That to me is like, why are you breaking what isn't broken? And again, he just wasn't utilized the way he should have been last year. I mean, too many balls behind the line of scrimmage. But crazily, the kind of things he does when he gets the ball is unassailable, right?
I agree.
I just don't think they used him correctly. And Jerry, you're talking about going and looking at free agency. other than the two names that have been linked to us, is there anybody out there, or do you have a preference over, the two that have been talked about?
Let me preface that first. So before you get there, I feel like there needs to be discussion, and obviously we are not going to influence whatever the front office does at all. But you got to look.
We got influence, Joe.
But you got to look at what do you want? What are you going for? I mean, if I agree with you, John, if this wide receiver returning group is Khalil Shakir, clearly, and I sat here the whole time you guys were talking, trying to think about a comp for Khalil Shakir. And it's funny because he embodies a lot of that stuff that Andre used to do as a receiver after the catch. Like, he has that ability to just get away and be super slippery, but he doesn't have that dominant possession receiver, always open Stephon Diggs kind of in his prime feel that you want from that type of a player. But you got Khalil coming back. I'll take Brandon Cooks. If we end up with Keon Coleman, great. And I guess Joshua Palmer's on here. What are you missing? Are you missing that Justin Jefferson, 6'2", 6'3", always open, the guy that gets the ball on third down every single time? Like, are you looking at, because right now I'll just throw it out there, who's linked to the Bills via Jeremy Fowler is Raheem Shaheed, and then Reggie Dobbs, right? It's Reggie Dobbs. Which Romeo Dobbs. And neither of those guys, they're more additional pieces than they are like, oh, now we've got the guy. So I think, Jerry, the first question is what are you going after here?
Well, I don't think you have the money to go get the guy.
I was going to talk about that too. Yeah, good call. Yep.
Agreed.
You don't have that kind of money. Okay, even if you go get a Mike Evans, it's going to cost you a lot of money for a guy that's been in the league for 12 years.
I'm out on Mike Evans. Unless it's a 1-year sweetheart deal, I'm out on Mike Evans.
You got to look at the way this offense has been built, and I think it's very, very telling that once again, and I hate it when they talk. I cannot stand when they bring it up, but when you hear the general manager and the head coach continually say, we pay the quarterback all that money, and it's really limited to, a guy that's, and if I was Josh, I'd walk. They're lucky Josh isn't that guy.
Yep.
Because there's some dudes that John and I played with that they would make the front office feel the pain if they kept saying those types of things, right? I mean, it's a guy that does what he has to do he bends over backwards for the franchise.
He also could walk in and say, you remember that $5 million left on the table?
Yeah,
I want it.
Exactly.
I want it.
And they're lucky, and they know this, and that's why they do what they do. But to me, it's just another setup. And I think what they're thinking is, get better at receiver. Is it a Romeo Dobbs? Okay. I mean, it's a guy that played 74% of the snaps this year, had 55 catches, 724 yards, 6 touchdowns. He did fumble at one time, but he was available. Here's the key: 15. He played in 16 games. He started 15 of them, so he was available, right?
Yes.
Which is a big thing. If you get a guy like this, and then you get another rookie, because that's where the Bills need to do is they need to start stockpiling rookie contracts, because that's how they get out of the cap situation.
Agreed.
You get a rookie, you get a guy like Dobbs or somebody of that nature. And to me anyway, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You continue to build on what you did, which is you got the leading rusher. So to me, find a way to bring back McGovern or somebody, to solidify the front. And, if Kincaid can stay healthy and you've got these other pieces, all of a sudden things change. Without being, paying your wide receiver exponential amounts of money to have that one dude that demands the ball all the time.
I think I'm more confident that Joshua Palmer could be 1,000-yard receiver in this offense than Kincaid staying healthy.
That's not far-fetched, Joe.
Jerry,
that's not far-fetched at all.
I have a question for you, Jerry. My concern is that we did not have the type of passing offense that really matched and complemented our running attack. Like, we weren't running things in our third and medium or even our third and short in the passing game that really matched up with our running game. We did sometimes, but there was just too much of it. It was like trying to force an identity in the passing game that we really didn't have. Did you kind of get that disjointed feeling? Like, we're not emphasizing enough on what we do with the run and extending it into the pass and 3rd and 4 to 7.
You mean more play action?
I don't know.
I think we ran a ton of play action.
We did run a ton of play action. I'm just talking about the development of routes type of thing downfield.
Right,
and,
I hear you saying.
It just felt like we were too spread for the type of personnel that we had, and we weren't, I don't know if you want to say, one side of the field more than other with an outlet on the outside. I just didn't feel as if we worked middle of the field to one side or the other with enough, I don't know, precision or philosophy. And it just felt very much like it was, well, let's try this play. There didn't seem to be a real philosophy to it.
Well, I mean, I think you look at what Brady likes to do. He runs a ton of mesh, obviously. So you have a ton of mesh concepts and things like that. I think obviously talent-wise, we weren't good enough to stretch the field and those types of things. When you look at some of these games, the amount of man coverage that was played against us, it was obscene. But I think the other deal is this, and this is something we haven't talked about, and this could be a future show probably, but we've been told for quite some time over this offseason and the end of the season that, it's been alluded to anyway, that maybe the offense was limited by the head coach, and that the head coach was very much of an analytics guy, and he wanted ball control, and he didn't want to put the ball in harm's way, and he didn't want Josh to throw interception, yada, 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 yada. So without McDermott in the building and now Brady being the head coach, is it, basically, like the Olympics, let's light the torch, let the pigeons loose, and let's, throw this thing all over the place. It'll be interesting to see, John. I really do. But I think a big part of it is not necessarily was Brady and play calling and schemes, as it was talent. I just don't think there was talent, and there was never, as you said early in the show, much availability.
I feel like Brandon Cooks proves that last point you just mentioned.
I agree with you, Joe. I agree. When Brandon Cooks shows up, and all of a sudden everybody's like dying for this guy, and you're like,
right. And he's
like, yeah,
every place he's gone to, which is funny.
Right.
Like, he is a guy that just gets open and catches the football, and he's just reliable, and he has the ability to be open. It's super. Getting back to who's responsible for what we saw on offense. Is it no plan? Is it lack of talent? Was the head coach a part of it? Dude, I am so confused on what reality is, and we're not going to know until probably week 8 of next year on what the reality is as it pertains to how much I'm going to use the word meddling. That's the wrong word, because the head coach has the right. How much design the head coach had in the offense as far as what he wanted to complement his defense, because complementary football was such an important thing to them. I think that's the best way to put that. But even when I say that, Joe Brady has said, because somebody made a comment to him in one of his interviews about like wide receiver screens, and he laughed. He said, "You're going to see a lot of those next year too." And it's like, no, that's not what we want. We want to see less of those. And that's the other, like Raheed Shaheed, like his big thing is returns. We had one of the best kick returners in the league last year, and he's a wide receiver screen guy. I don't know that we need that guy. Like, unless Khalil goes outside and that's where he lives. But to your point, I don't know that he can survive out there. This whole thing it's going to be an interesting, they got to draft somebody. They got to go get a wide receiver. Mike Evans, I like I said, on a 1-year deal. I like Romeo Doubs, and I'm sorry I butchered his name when I called him Reggie Dobbs earlier. I like Romeo Doubs. I like his hands. I like his ability to get open. He's kind of sneaky fast. But when you talk about numbers, right? So the Bills paid Joshua Palmer $12 million a year, 3 years, $36 million. Shaheed is projected at $14 million a year, and Romeo Doubs is projected at $12 million a year. And these aren't even like names like Mike Evans, who's at the backside of his career and is probably going to get what, 16?
You're looking at market value now anywhere from 13 to 16. I'd say probably more like that 13.5 to 14 million.
And then
it's
all about structure, right?
It is all about
what
structure.
We can do restructuring and then add that structure.
Yeah. And real quick before we get to some business at hand, just a final thing on this. I think also too, you got to look at this. Can they get the wide receiver room better? Not crazy, like going out and moving up to 4th in the draft or going and getting Marvin Harrison. Can they save their assets, especially 2027 draft assets? Can they get better at the wide receiver room? And I think what they're banking on is this too. We're going to get the defense better. And if we get the wide receiver room a little bit better with a better defense, that all together makes the team better. So
before we get to the ad read, Andy Swift says Josh has no help downfield as far as from downfield threats either. we've talked about it. I've said it a
Well,
lot.
that's what we're talking about now. We know
but-
that. He has
but
no
John,
downfield threats.
he's also not a great downfield thrower, right?
No, he's not. He's not a very good downfield thrower at all.
I mean, he tries to throw the ball
Well,
on
then
a
let's
line.
get somebody who can separate between 12 and 20 yards.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. And
Agreed.
that's Brandon Cooks. Let's re-sign him.
Yep. Before we get to the rest of the show, John Fino wants to talk to you about our show sponsor, Big John.
Jerry, Joe, at the grand opening of the Anchor Bar a few weeks ago, I got to shake the hand of the daughter of Frank and Teresa.
No way.
No way.
Yes,
royalty.
It was like meeting royalty. I'm never going to wash this hand again. In 1935, Frank and Teresa, they opened the Anchor Bar instantly, and specializing in Italian cuisine, the restaurant gained national acclaim. In 1964, when they said, hey, why don't we cut the wing off, make a couple of pieces, deep fry it, and slather it in delicious sauce? And lo and behold, a Buffalo icon was born. And since then, they serve over 15 million pounds of chicken wings annually, the same amount that Jerry and I have eaten in our lifetimes. The Anchor Bar bottled wing sauce is available in more than 4,000 supermarkets worldwide. So check your local market. Maybe you can get it there. And if you can't, you can order it. Customers can order, get it shipped across the country. If you don't have a location near you, get it shipped in. And by the way, there might be a location near you. They have 17 franchise locations. Tucson's open, Frisco, Raleigh, North Carolina, and soon to come online, Kissimmee, Florida. So if you want the best tasting wings, head to the original. The Anchor Bar from Buffalo, New York, spreading wing love nationwide.
Which we're going to start talking about all the individual locations coming up, because that's the one thing that we didn't do in the first year of sponsorship with Anchor Bar, was talk about where everyone was. So we're going to start telling you guys where they all are, and that way, if you've got one near you, you can go visit. But getting back to and finishing up just this conversation, I think it comes back to free agency and draft, right? And I think I agree with you guys. I think you have to do both. The question is how high? How high do you go, Jerry Ostrowski, in the draft to take a wide receiver? Is he the first pick of your draft?
Depends who's there. I mean, is Concepcion there? Have you fallen in love with him? Do you want him to be the guy? I mean, obviously he's got all the traits of what we're looking for, or what everybody's telling us that we are looking for in a wide receiver. So I mean, that's a big part of it. You just got to wait and see who's there. There's obviously, other areas of need. For instance, edge rusher is one of them. And when I say edge rusher, I mean outside linebacker / edge rusher.
Stand-up guy. Yeah.
I would not be against, and I know it's like mutiny on the bounty when I say this, but I would not be against if somebody like Ione from Penn State fell to 26 and that elite guard sitting there, I would take him, because I'm not real. I know a lot of people think you can just plug and play, John. Everybody just plug and play. We got guards and centers on the roster. Just put them in there. They'll be the same way. It doesn't work that way. And I'm a little nerved up about losing both of those guys. I hope they can keep one of them. If they do, it's probably going to be McGovern, because he'd be the cheaper of the two. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just, that's another area as well. So there's a lot of need there, Joe. And you just got to see, it's one comment that they've made in the offseason I do like. They're going to draft good players, not reach for needs. Who's available when they draft, and they'll go from there.
Well, I think looking at this combine and look at who's available, I think that's what we're going to see. I think across the NFL, aside from, guys that if you need a quarterback, suddenly a second or third round guy becomes a first round quarterback. That's the one outlier that never makes sense to me. However, I like what you're saying about the guard from Penn State, Ionel Leiva. Can't pronounce his name. I don't think there's a chance he's going to be there. And if Concepcion is there, that's probably the guy. I watched him quite a bit this year. But I think what Jerry's saying, the next best bet and the smartest play in the first round, if they don't have their guy at either of those two positions, it's either going to be linebacker or edge. And I think there's some pretty good linebacker talent in this draft. There's certainly very good edge talent.
So just to throw chum in the water from a free agency standpoint, the current free agent wide receivers that are available, George Pickens, who attitude issues and stuff in Pittsburgh, went to Dallas, had a great year, did have a couple moments there as well. A couple games where I think one game he like sat down, and I don't even know what happened there. But George Pickens, but Dallas is rumored to want him back. Alec Pierce, up and coming deep threat with a strong recent production. Mike Evans, we talked about. Deebo Samuel. I love Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's a guy, gadget guy, dominant, big dude, can get off press man that we talked about.
Jerry doesn't like him.
Jerry doesn't like him. You wonder how he fits or could fit, excuse me, in a Joe Brady offense. Juwan Jennings. We started the show practicing his name because I never have a problem when I'm not talking on a show. Rashid Shaheed. Was saying that backwards. I was saying Raheed Shaheed. We talked about him, Romeo Dobbs, and then Wan'Dale Robinson. I like Wan'Dale Robinson, but he's another slot receiver. We have a roster full of them. And then guys that are predicted to potentially be available this year. Christian Kirk. I don't know where I land on Christian Kirk. He becomes a free agent. The Jaguars signed him to, what was it, an $86 or $91 million contract. He washed out of that. He's got skills. Keenan Allen is older than Methuselah. DeAndre Hopkins, also older than Methuselah. Tyquan Thornton.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Right. I mean, these Brandon Cooks, these names aren't great from a free agency standpoint. You almost wonder if there's a trade coming.
Rashak, Bishak, and a bid to go.
To go. You almost wonder if there's a trade opportunity in here somewhere. But I don't know that the Bills have an asset to trade.
That's where I was going to go. What are you going to trade? We don't have anything, I think, long term that we can trade off of.
Be careful, because there's rumors that they get upset if you say that this is anything but a championship roster. Meanwhile, you can't comb it and find a guy worth trading. Sorry. Did I say that out loud, Jerry? I'm sorry.
That's fine with me, man.
You're not hurting Jerry's feelings.
You're an adult. You can say what you want.
They're going to have to do something. I'm very interested to what John was saying and you guys were talking about. It felt very disjointed. It didn't seem like the run game, the passing game matched the run game. It didn't feel like there was a lot of creativity. That was the one thing about Brian Daboll, love him or hate him. He could scheme guys open. And I know that maybe you can answer it, Jerry and John. I don't know how much difference there is between that wide receiver is extremely talented, Stephon Diggs, and can just get open. Obviously, he's getting older now, but when he was when he was in his prime here, versus these guys need help being schemed open, right?
Well,
go ahead.
Let me cut you off. It goes back to what Jerry said. We saw a ridiculous amount of man coverage, and teams can only do that when they can defend you with man. But all that does is just add another guy into the box, right?
Gotcha.
So if they can shut you down in man coverage, they can defend everything else better because they basically gain an extra guy. So it is a talent issue. I still maintain that I think these guys are talented, but with their injuries and the reliability and the same group coming in week after week, we'll never really know, despite Brandon Cooks being a flash, and hopefully we get him back.
Gotcha. Anything on that, Jerry, before I get us out of here?
No, said very well.
Yeah, it's just it's going to be interesting to see how this offense develops. How do I want to say this next part? I have been vocal to the dismay of some about what we used to see from Josh Allen in this passing offense. And I'm not saying that it has to be that in 2020, 2021, and 2022, and what we've seen over the last year and a half or 2 years. And I just feel like there's so much potential. You obviously have to have the horses that can run that offense, which we don't, but it just feels like there's so much potential out there from 17. Oh, man. Sorry. Final thoughts, Jerry Ostrowski, before I get us rolling out of this place.
I don't have any. I want to watch the crash out continue.
John Fina.
I mean, it's March 1st, and it's like the crash out is real.
I guess what I would say is dovetailing back on what we talked about, what Jerry mentioned earlier. I'm hoping that Joe Brady, has released his chains and he's not being held back by McDermott anymore. Well, I just hope that something, if there's a kernel of truth to that, if that's the case, if there's a kernel of truth to that, then, hope springs eternal. And I'm all for it.
Because the narrative, as we suspected, has been very controlled out of One Bills Drive. And it seems the message seems to be the same across the board. So we'll see if that really is true or not.
Coming up this week on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. Tomorrow, Monday, the Off Tackle with John Fina show. Tuesday, there will be no On the Beat again, as I will be traveling. Wednesday, 7 days to Sunday, with Jerry Ostrowski and Zig Fracassi. And then Saturday, the always going Anthony Marino with the walkthrough. But the dude's crushing it. But for me, for John, I guess I got to do the whole thank you everybody for hanging out with us here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Show on the Overreaction Sports Network. Again, presented by FanDuel and the Anchor Bar. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. For me, for John, for Jerry, for all of us here at Overreaction. We'll talk to you guys soon. Go Bills.
Today, tomorrow, and always, go Bills.
Much love, folks. Go Bills.
Go Bills.